Okay. Oh, God. All right, guys. So we have some new members. So we are going to do a little introductory little thing just to see, let you get to know us just a smidge for anybody that's new, or if y'all forget who we are.
Quizzer.
We're kind of forgettable. It's fine. So
Oh.
me at least. So the chat won't open, whatever. So the thing is, each of these facts is paired to one of us. So those are your 6 officers in the corner there. That's each of us. They are in no order. So we're going to go through them and just see if y'all can guess who's who.
Yeah, we want to see if you guys can match the fun fact to the person. Hannah isn't here right now. I don't actually know where she is, but that's Hannah.
Oh, I think is she?
No.
No.
Is she?
I don't think so. I think she was getting on late because she had to, we had class. So I walk at least 2 miles every day. Anybody have any guesses? My chat.
I don't even know who that is.
It's not me. I'll give you that much. I'm too lazy for that.
You guys can either just unmute yourself or write in the chat.
I feel like Logan is either 1 or 3.
Logan is one you?
No, I'm in my apartment like all the time, so unless I can walk 2 miles in here, I don't know.
Anybody else?
Who else?
I know who they all are, so I can't guess.
I don't know who this is. I'm gonna guess, is it Lauren? Am I allowed to guess? I did it anyway, so I'm guessing it's Lauren. Is it Lauren? I can't see you. Did you?
Yeah, it is me. It's because of my dog, but yes.
Oh yeah, whatever helps.
Lauren had me choose between 2 fun facts. So it was this one. What was the other one about your dog, Lauren?
Oh, it's my dog's birthday on Saturday.
My birthday's on Sunday. In case anyone was wondering.
Okay. Dude, my birthday was like last week.
Why didn't we celebrate it?
I don't know. I don't celebrate. All right, we got Lauren. So number 2, some of my favorite bands are The Association, the Mamas and the Papas, and the Hollies. Anybody got a guess on that one? I'm gonna pick somebody if y'all don't do it.
Someone said Logan. Taylor said Logan.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right, I have to head out to my moment of magic meeting, but Logan, I'm glad I found out your fun fact, and it was neither of the ones I thought it was before I left.
We'll send out the meeting, okay?
We'll do effort.
See it.
Bye, Olivia. Thanks for joining.
Yes, Taylor. That one is Logan. All right, guys. I can play the drums. I actually have no idea who this is, so I think I do, maybe. Anybody got any guesses? It's gonna be a lady drummer because we only have 4 of us left. There's Hannah. Oh.
Hi, Hannah.
Who else is here?
Who's guessing?
Miranda, do you have any idea who plays the drums?
I have no idea, but that's Arrow.
Not Arrow. Anybody else want to try? Jillian?
I'm gonna guess you.
No, not me. I suck at the drums. All right, who is it?
Me. I can play the drums, you guys.
I want to hear that. I want to see that, honestly.
I never would have guessed.
Send a video. Actually, I don't really have a video.
Yeah, you have to. You can't not. Now that we know that a video exists, you have to.
Okay, so my dad is a percussion teacher. Well, he does a whole bunch of different things, but that is one thing that he does. So I basically grew up playing the drums. Haven't played in the longest time over break. I went home and I was just like jamming out, and they got a video. It's not the best, but it's all right.
So cool though. She could just randomly go to like the
Yeah.
music store and just bust out, and people are like,
Fun. I'm gonna start my own band. No.
all right, 3 left. I am the oldest of 7 children, which I think is nuts. I cannot imagine having that many kids. Anybody got a guess?
Whoever it is, we definitely have to hear some stories of what that's like.
Caitlin, you got a guess?
Arrow.
Who was it?
Either Hannah or Arrow.
Yeah, it's not me. Yeah, you guys are right. It is Arrow. Arrow, that is crazy.
What's that like?
Honestly, it's so weird, but like after 5, you don't even notice. Like my mom has 7 kids, and my aunt has 6 kids, and all of us together, it is the quietest. And the ages range all the way from a year old to 19. Like there's just all those,
What?
and you can't even tell.
Dude, I'm an only grandchild too. Like I don't even want to think about that. That's too many kids in one room. How many brothers? How many sisters?
It is 3
Meeting right now?
brothers,
Yeah.
and then 3 sisters, and then I'm 7.
Girl, that's crazy. Those poor boys. They got a lot of upsetting going on in their house. All right, 2 left. I love to do makeup and plan to open my own salon. Anybody got a guess? It's only 2 people left.
Just shout. Just pick one. Shout them out.
Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah.
Yeah. Right.
Hannah,
I've traveled to over 15 countries. That one's me. I don't even think I can name all of them.
I was
Which is
gonna
the
say,
favorite one that you've been to?
Probably Scotland. I spent a week in Scotland and in the Scottish Highlands. And my favorite thing I kept doing, which my parents thought it was so weird, like the cows literally walk right up to you and they have like these big horns and like these bangs that cover their faces. And I would just like go around petting cows. Like they were so cute. And all of the sheep had just had their little lambs. So they were all like this big, like as big as my head. And there were like millions of them all over. That was
gosh,
fun. Spain was really cool too. That one was
Do
awesome.
you travel with your family, or was this just like kind of random?
I
remember
think
you used to
5 of them
say-
are my family and the rest of them are just me because I studied abroad twice.
I
Once
remember that.
in college, and when I was studying abroad in college, I hit 9 of the countries. 8 of them were just on my own. So
That's crazy. That's awesome.
it's crazy. If anybody ever goes to Europe, go to Europe for like 2 or 3 weeks because you can plane hop to different countries and it's so cheap. My flight from London to Spain and back was $14. Like 1-4.
No. Oh my gosh.
It was
right,
nuts.
I'm
I just traveled whenever I could because I wasn't gonna waste the money to go all the way back. Oh, all right, y'all. So today we are going to be focusing on stigma. It's kind of just an open meeting, beginner meeting for the new year, new semester, just to get us all back on track. So our motto in Active Minds is fight the stigma. We want to fight the stigma against mental health. So what do we mean by that? So stigma is defined as negative attitudes or discrimination against someone based on distinguishing characteristics. I'm sure everybody knows certain instances of discrimination that have been happening in our world, not just our country, in our world in the past, God, I don't even want to say year, I want to say like 100 years. Race, ethnicity, religion, all of that. Stigma more so focuses on, if it's a social stigma, it can be more gender, sexuality, race, and culture. But when we're just talking about stigma, the first thing that comes to mind is usually mental illness, health condition, or disabilities. For Active Minds, we focus on the stigma against mental illnesses. So it's been something that stigma has started wars, you know. It's a heavy issue in our society that we live in today. So how often do we see stigma? I think a lot of times we see stigma without even noticing that we're seeing it. It just kind of happens. It's all around
I
us,
think it's-
literally all the time. What?
I said it's become normalized.
Yeah,
You don't even realize it happens every single day.
and it just happens. And it comes in so many different forms. Like I said, I mean, we think about the Holocaust. That was based on a stigma that somebody had against Jewish people, and you know, it started a whole world war. I mean, it's crazy how far people can take it. So we're going to talk about the video that we put out on the TED Talk. We're just going to watch a couple little snippets of it. Two, actually. This one is small, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we'll watch the next one. They're both pretty short, though.
Was everyone able to watch it, or did no one watch it? Just out of curiosity.
If you didn't, it's okay. We just curious.
Fine, I'm just wondering. Okay. Well,
I did watch the whole thing. It was a little
I
long.
watched
but
it.
okay.
Yeah, he's a good speaker. He focuses a lot on the medical aspect of it a lot, which is nice, but we don't have a lot of access to that, so we're going to
Well,
focus
to
on the
show
other
you how
parts.
insidious stigma can be, let's do a little thought exercise. Imagine that you were invited to celebrate your boss's 50th birthday party and you were picked to give the toast. But on the day of the event, you got sick and you had to cancel. When you called to cancel, would you prefer to say that you couldn't come because you had a kidney stone, or that you were depressed and suicidal? Or would you rather say that you threw out your back or were having a panic attack? Or would you rather explain that you were having a migraine headache or you were strung out on prescription pain medication? If you would prefer the former to the latter in each case, you, my friends, are affected by stigma. Now, I experience stigma every day as a psychiatrist. The profession to which I've dedicated my life is the most denigrated and distrusted of all medical specialties. There's no anti-cardiology movement that's trying to stamp out cardiology. And there's no anti-oncology movement that's trying to ban cancer treatment. But there's a virulent anti-psychiatry movement that claims there's no such thing as mental illness and wants to eliminate psychiatry. Now, if we thought of mental illness like we do heart disease, then symptoms like depression would be like chest pain, or anxiety would be like shortness of breath, or psychosis would be like an arrhythmia. In the former case, the symptoms emanate from the brain. In the latter case, they emanate from the heart. But the brain is infinitely more complicated than the heart or any other organ in the human body for that matter.
So that's the snippet of that we're going to watch. So so those were some examples of stigma, things that I hadn't really thought about before I watched that. And he's right. I mean, if you had to call out to work or something, would you rather say, you know, I'm having a panic attack, or, you know, I just feel sick, my stomach hurts? Most people would choose the second one just because there's some sort of stigma against, you know, mental illness, to where you say you're having a panic attack. I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't know if my work would be accepting of the fact that I wouldn't be coming to work because of that. They'd be like, okay, well, that's okay, but you still need to come to work. But if I was throwing up, they'd be like, okay, you can stay home. It's just how things are defined, and it's very difficult to explain to some people that they are just as important as actual physical illnesses. So some examples, particular examples: people living with depression, people sometimes see that as being lazy. I know I've dealt with cases where parents in high school, I would be at my friend's house, and some of my friends were depressed, and my their mom, one of their moms would always be like, oh God, you're so lazy. You never get up, you never go out, you never do any of this. And you're like, you really don't understand what's actually going on. Some judge those with anxiety as cowardly or overdramatic. I know my dad, when I had anxiety in high school, was always like, God, you're just panicking over nothing. Calm down. It's like, it's not as easy as it sounds. And unfortunately, some people see those with bipolar disorder or a personality disorder as crazy. And that is a term that we absolutely disapprove of. We hate that word. People use it way too often. And, you know, they think if you have a mental illness, something's wrong with you. So many people have mental illness. I mean, at least what, 20% of adults in the US are affected with some form of mental illness. So I will give you one example. I can't remember who it was that was with me that was doing the tabling event last semester. We were handing out flyers for Active Minds, and we were saying, here's a flyer, mental health awareness club on campus, come join us. One of the kids I handed it to, he's like, oh, well, I don't have any problems, but you know, I'll give it to one of my friends, maybe they do. And I said, you don't have to be a part of our club and learn about mental health only if you have a problem, you know, and it's not even having a problem. It's just, you know, being anxious or being depressed or sad, learning about those things. We're all normal people. Some of us are afflicted with some of these things. Some of us aren't, but there's nothing wrong with any of us. And so many people just view it as that. And I couldn't help but think how many people I was handing those flyers out to thought, oh, this is a club for people that, you know, have a mental illness or something. No, we're an educational club and we want more people to learn about it. And unfortunately, not that many people take as much of an interest in it as we do. So we're just going to do a little whiteboard activity. So if any of you have experienced some form of stigma or come into contact with some form of stigma, we want you to put it on here. I can't remember how to do this.
Oh, Lauren.
Share your screen and there's a whiteboard option.
Okay, there we go. So you should all have access to this whiteboard now, which means you all can draw on it, you all can type on it, you all can do whatever you want on it. Keep it clean.
So
I think
what
you
you
have to go like up in the top where it says view options, like click on that and then click annotate first. I think that's the issue I had before.
View options. Allison, can you write on this?
yeah, here, I'll start off. Well, here, I'll just say this to start.
Try to write something if you, okay, yeah. So you should all be able to get to it.
You can draw whatever you want to do.
So for
Is there
example,
anything you want us to do? One more time, instructions.
think of some form of stigma that you've come into contact with. It doesn't have to be about mental illness, but I want to make sure everybody can understand what stigma really is. So my example was the tabling, handing out flyers.
Certain phrases also work as well. Maybe something that you heard someone say, or maybe even if you said it, that's fine too.
I'm telling people I want to be a psychiatrist. They ask me if I want to treat. Treat what, Logan?
Any issues? Give me a second.
Treat what?
Won't let me edit it.
Treat what?
Hold on. Here we go.
Crazy people. Exactly. That's that word that we do not like to use. You want to talk a little bit about that, Logan? About your experience with that? What do you say to people when they ask you that?
I usually tell them that they're not crazy. That's just not a thing that really exists per se. So
It's hard to explain to people. I mean,
Right.
but that's what's formed, unfortunately, about mental illness. I mean, there were so many people being put into psychiatric units in what, 50s and 60s, that it just became this image of mental illness that you have to be in a psych ward and be just kind of going off the charts if you had a mental illness. And that's what people think of, and that's what we're trying to break.
Right. In fact, the American Journal of Psychiatry used to be called the American Journal of Insanity. So
I did not know that, but that is literally a perfect example of what we're trying to break. Anybody else have anything that they can think of? You don't necessarily have to write it. You can just say it.
Here's mine.
What does it say? I can't see it.
So this isn't really, I guess it's kind of an example, but these are things that I hear people say more oftentimes than not, over like everyday inconveniences. You know, just, I don't want to say, I don't even know how to put it, but they say it for like, I don't know.
The desensitized
They
brain.
drop their pencil. Yeah, they drop their pencil, and it's like, oh, I want to, you know, it's something so small that, you know, people have major thoughts like this, and they're just kind of brushing it off like it's not that big of a deal, or they're associating it with something that's not as problematic, I guess you could say.
So when people actually
Does that
do,
make sense?
they might think, oh, you're just being over dramatic. And you're like, no, I'm serious. Then it becomes a problem because you don't know whether they're joking or not, because it's become such a desensitized phrase.
I've heard people say it just to get a reaction out of people, like a laugh, like be goofy, and I'm like, let's not say those words.
My cousins are in their early teens, and one of them really wanted a pair of shoes. And my aunt was like, no, they're like $100 and they're white and you're going to destroy them. And he said that. He was like, if you don't get me these, I'm going to kill myself. And I had to sit down with him. I said, you do not say that, especially just because you want the shoes. And he's like, well, I didn't mean it. I'm like, well, then do not say it. That is so, no.
Yeah.
Who was this one right here, the psych major? They asked me if I was crazy.
That was me.
So you want to tell us about that? So like, so you told somebody that you were a psych major, and they
They,
responded.
They like asked me like what my major was. I was like psychology, and like, oh, so you're like crazy or something. And it was just like really like pissed me off.
I can see why. I mean, first of all, you're going into that to help people with mental illnesses, but then they're assuming that you may have one as well, and then they're labeling you as crazy. Like that's like 2 or 3 stigmas on top of one another.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's pretty common for people in like a psych major, which is like weird. People are always like, oh, like you're trying to work through something, or oh, you like had trauma. It's like really weird. I don't know.
My friend graduated with a psych major, and we were working last night, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, and she's a social worker now, and she also was a bartender, and these guys were drinking at the bar, and she was talking to them about it, and they said, oh, so you've got some problems. And she was like, oh, she went off. She was like, no, actually, I'm helping people with mental illnesses. You don't have to have problems. She went off, absolutely off. And I was so proud of her. I was like, you tell people, you put them in their place. That is not how you talk to people. Who put, people think mental illnesses are always schizophrenia or something like that. Who said that?
That was me. The other one went with it, but it kind of messed up when I did it.
Which one was the other one that went with it?
The when anxiety and stuff is just as equal.
Okay. So I'm guessing you've talked to people about mental illness before.
Yeah, like when I told my family I had anxiety and ADHD, they were like, "Are you okay?" Like, and then just started talking about like other mental illnesses, and I was like, "No, it's like it's not like that, but it is like that at the same time." I don't know.
Exactly. That's a really good one. I did not think of that, but that's a very common one too. People hear bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, things like that, and then they don't necessarily. What is she writing?
Yeah. You're acting For attention, I'm assuming. Yes.
Okay.
Attention.
I'll get there. Okay, I didn't know she was drawn.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't figure out how to type. I'm doing the Zoom on my phone and I can't figure out how to type on the thing. So I just decided to draw and it was a lot bigger than I thought it was
It's
going
all
to be.
good. It's all good. But Jillian, that's a really great point I'm so glad that you bring that up. People think mental illness, they think schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. They think of like the ones that can progress to be really bad. I mean, they can all
Yeah.
progress very quickly, but they don't necessarily think of anxiety and depression as mental,
Yeah.
like real mental illnesses. Sometimes they just think, oh, that's like something you can self-diagnose. No, like they're real. Yeah, totally agree with that. Thank you for that one. All right. So, who wrote Just Get Over It?
I forgot I needed to unmute. That was me.
I love that one because that one's the one that everybody uses. Like I said, have you had an experience with that where like, you're kind of dealing with somebody and somebody's just like
you're fine. You'll be
I
alright.
feel like at this point, like everybody has, and that's not okay. But.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you haven't dealt with that one, lucky you, because it sucks. And you're just like, well, I guess I'm not talking to that person again.
Have you guys also experienced it with like older generations too, also being like maybe like what? If I say, oh, I feel really anxious about this. My grandparents, like they love me and they want to support me, but they're like, well, what? Like, what do you mean?
Yes.
And it's really weird.
That is a really, really great point. And that definitely ties back into like the 50s and 60s, like the Journal of Insanity or whatever it was called. People associated those things with people that were like insane. And they're like, oh, you're not really dealing with that, are you? Like, that's not real. And yeah, older generation definitely has an issue. Even our parents' generation. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but my parents' generation definitely has problems with dealing with this and comprehending it. So I'm glad that our generation is a little bit more informed.
Yeah, I would say I have a story about that. The job that I worked at in high school, hang on, my laptop's like freaking out right now. The job that I worked at in high school, I had an older lady. I was basically like a secretary, like a community center kind of thing. And there was an older lady that worked there, and I would see her coming into work and everything. And she was like, how was your day? And I was like, oh, I have so much going on right now. I was a senior in high school, so I was like trying to figure out college, and there's just so much that's going on at that time. And she was like, I don't know why you're complaining. You guys have it so much easier than we did when we were growing up. And I was like, excuse me? Like, number one, I don't think that's necessarily the case, but also everyone goes through the same, like, different stages of life, kind of have the same struggles, the same concerns, the same thoughts, like senior in high school, you're going to college, you're like, oh God, what am I going to do? And the fact that she said that, it really bothered me. And I was like, I kind of got back at her. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, we just had so much more going on in the world. And I was like, what? She's like, you guys just have it so easy. I was like, that is not true, honey. So I totally get that.
Like, the people really, like, they get so far from that age and they totally forget what it's like to go through that kind of stuff. And then two, I mean, yes, you had a lot going on in the world. Like, there was probably like wars going on, like World War II may have been coming to an end, but now we're in a more peaceful era. But they forget about the fact, like, there's such a pressure to go into higher education for us. And then the price, where half of us have to figure out how we're going to pay for it and work and combine all of this stuff at once, especially women who didn't actually go to college a lot probably in that era. I mean,
not even that, like, everything with technology makes
absolutely
everything 10 times more complicated. It really can mess with your mind, and just all that drama and everything, especially at that age, it has more of an effect on like teenagers, So the fact that we had it more, or we had it when they didn't, I could pick it apart like there's no tomorrow. I could write a book on it, but yeah, it took me back.
Nobody
Especially since like, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, since like our generation, we kind of grew up with social media and the internet, like just baseline, like we didn't really know a time before that. Whereas like they didn't have all those they had some external pressures obviously, but not as like all the time, I think, and like easy access. Like we all have our phones, most of us. So yeah, I think that's a
a
good
lot of
point.
social pressure too for us to, confine to be what we're supposed to look like, how smart we're supposed to be, all this stuff. I mean, there's just so many different factors that they didn't even have going into the equation at that age. Hannah, did you have a specific comment on that since you wrote it?
No, not really. I just, you hear constantly people are be like, oh, stop acting. You're just acting. You don't actually feel that way. You're just doing it to get attention. And it's just like, makes you feel crappy as a person because they're not like understanding your feelings or like being considerate. That makes sense.
Have been through something to that caliber where we've seen that one person that does all this stuff just to get attention, and then a lot of people think, oh, they must be doing it too, and this person, you can't tell. So yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. Anybody else have anything else to add?
I was just gonna say
I have one. Sorry, I'm at work, so I'm like didn't want to do it to the end. Make sure no one comes in. This is pretty related, but my minor is addiction studies, and so I've learned from the class that there's like a big stigma kind of around people with addictions and just assuming like they choose to do it. And I had to do an assignment about it, and I was saying how like at first maybe it's like a bad choice, but like people don't choose to be addicted to something. They don't want that. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. I think they think that they're like, oh, we'll just stop doing it. And they don't really get how like it alters your brain and you're essentially not even you. You probably don't even realize that you're doing it. And I think it's an important thing to kind of think about when it comes to like that whole field and world. And it kind of relates to this kind of thing too. Like you don't choose to feel anxious. You don't choose to feel a certain way. That's just kind of how it is.
Absolutely. I think that's a great aspect to bring into it. A lot of times we don't think about addiction being part of it, but we learned at the conference last year, it's a huge part of mental illness.
Right. And a lot of people fail to realize that addiction is a disease. Mm-hmm. And there's a stigma that it's a choice. And especially when it comes to Appalachia, having the highest rates of addiction in the country, there's a lot of stigma there.
Absolutely. Great points, guys. Thank you for joining Autumn at work. Thanks for making the effort too. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, that was an awesome little activity. I'm glad everybody participated. Thank you so much. We only have a couple other things we're going to go through, but let me get back here. So we're just going to watch the little end piece of the video. He just kind of talks about how we can break the stigma, what we need to do. And this is really the goal of Active Minds. He is not a part of Active Minds, but I think what he talks about really embodies what Active Minds tries to do to break the stigma. He just goes a little more in depth than we do.
So how can we stop the suffering, the violence, the stigma? We have to begin by recognizing mental illness for what it is, a medical condition that can be treated like we do physical illness. If you look around you and you saw somebody next to you who was grimacing in pain or passing out or choking, you would rush up to them or you would ask them, is there something wrong or can I help you? But we don't do this when we see somebody who's emotionally distressed or acting strangely or too often intoxicated. But that's what we need to do. We need to Be involved, show our concern, don't be afraid to ask, make it your business. What's the worst that can happen? I mean, they say to you indignantly, mind your own business, or I'm fine, thank you. But the best that can happen is you may be able to get somebody help and alleviate unnecessary suffering and potentially harm to themselves or others. Now that will work for those around us that are close to us or that we're with, but to have an effect on the whole population, we need to influence the government and the media, either individually or through advocacy groups. We have to make them understand that mental illnesses are real medical conditions and that we have effective treatments, and these must be made available to people. I've been trying to do this by speaking out publicly, including to audiences like you, and writing articles for the lay public in the media. When Robin Williams died, I wrote an article about suicide, and I received an email in response that was titled, "Message from a Patient from Very Long Ago." And I'd like to share this with you. Dear Dr. Lieberman, last night I read your article about the suicide of Robin Williams and recognized your name. You probably don't remember me, but between the ages of 15 and 30, I was severely mentally ill with borderline personality disorder and depression. I made many suicide attempts and was frequently hospitalized. One of those times I took a large overdose and awoke in the intensive care unit of St. Vincent's Hospital. You were assigned to be my doctor, and I clearly remember how very much you helped me. You probably didn't see it that way, as I know I gave you a really hard time with my acting out and self-destructive behavior. However, eventually, with a lot of treatment, I was able to get myself together. I got married, enrolled in nursing school, and graduated as valedictorian. For the past 22 years, I've worked in psychiatric hospitals. When I look back at just how mentally ill I was early in my life, I would never have thought it could turn out so well. How very fortunate I feel to have a pretty happy life. And so I just had to let you know. What I remember most from when I was your patient is that you genuinely seemed to care about me and didn't judge me. But I suppose the best doctors are always the ones with the most heart. Signed, Lori. So this was the same Lori that I had treated and feared for so long ago. I was thrilled to know that she had recovered and to think that maybe I played some small part in this. But what really struck me most about her email was the fact that it wasn't my medical knowledge or my clinical skills that she remembered. It was the fact that I showed compassion for her. And compassion is something that we all can show to people, including those with mental illness. So while science and medicine continues to pursue the causes and the cures of mental illness, I ask that you join me to find the heart and muster the will to reach out to all people, particularly people who may show signs of mental illness, to raise awareness of the public, of the government, and of the media to end the stigma of mental illness. Thank you for listening.
I thought that was amazing. I mean, that is kind of everything that we stand for as Active Minds. Breaking the stigma is going to be something that we have to work through, definitely into further generations than ours. Our children are going to have to try to work to break the stigma. Our children's children are. It's not something that's going to end at the drop of a hat. But even just having these meetings and talking about this stuff furthers our knowledge and helps us to break that stigma even more. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. You guys are helping to break the stigma every day. We do have a couple little housekeeping things. I did talk about the t-shirts briefly. We do not have 4 left. We are down to 2 larges left. If you need one, email me. I'll be in the Mountain Lair Monday and Tuesday of next week, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. With the shirts for pickup. Please bring your student ID. And if you have not paid via Venmo, please bring $15 with you so that I can give you the shirt. I can't give it to you unless you paid for it. Sina King is our new campus dietitian. She is going to be attending our meeting on Thursday, February 25th, to speak to us about National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. She is going to talk to us just about, how being healthy really contributes to having good mental health, to, have a good state of mind, physical state of being. They are hand in hand, and she reached out to us and wanted to talk to us a little bit about that. So I said, absolutely. So she'll be talking with us on February 25th. I don't believe we actually have like a club meeting that week, so that will be an off week. So you're welcome to attend if you'd like, not required at all. We have a get to know each other event that the officers kind of decided on. It was Hannah's idea. Props to Hannah. We will have it next Thursday, the 11th at 6 p.m. You are welcome to join if you would like. You, again, do not have to. We may play a couple games here and there, just to help you guys get to know us, what is important to us, what we do, and for us to get to know you and you guys. So like if you have anything that's prominent that you want to talk about, Autumn, if you want to talk about your studies with addiction and everything that you've been working on, absolutely. Everybody else, same to you guys. If I haven't heard from you, come and talk to us and just get to know us. We won't be going over anything specific. It's just a chat. We also decided to start this new little program. We've been trying to figure out like prizes or anything that we can give to these people that receive the nominations, but we have yet to do that. So as of right now, we have put a form out there for the Incredible Individual program. You can nominate someone you know that you think is outstanding, that helps their community, that helps others, that does things to better this world that they have not been recognized for and you think they deserve to be recognized for. I brought it up because my neighbor upstairs, she is, I think, 24. She came home and she had this little boy with her and this like newborn baby. And I was like, hey, and she told me about it. She is fostering them on her own until they have a home. And I can't even imagine to do something like that right now myself at my age. I'm the same age. That blows my mind. In a tiny apartment, 2 dogs. Now she's got 2 kids too. Her husband's always at work. They're newlyweds. They just got married. It's just crazy. And I think it's amazing. So if you guys know anybody that does amazing things like that and you think that they deserve to be recognized, fill out that form and let us know so that we can get them some recognition because they definitely deserve it. The form will be attached in the email after this meeting. And that's pretty much all that we've got for you guys. Does anybody have anything last minute that they'd like to share before we sign off here? Or any questions? Yes, Logan, absolutely. We do not have class next Thursday. So if you're bored, come talk to us and we'll play games. Allison's gonna pick, I point this way because she's this way on my screen. She might be like down there, who knows? But Allison's gonna think of some games. She thought of some cool games that we talked about yesterday. We're all gonna try to figure out some fun stuff that we can do to get to know you guys a little bit better. Just because we can't actually be with you guys in person, which sucks. But yeah, we don't want to have class. So if you want to hang out with us, get on Zoom. You could have lunch with us. I don't care. Do whatever. Anything anybody else has? I'm in a weird mood, Allison. Don't laugh. I'm hungry. I get weird when I'm hungry. All right, guys. What?
There you go. Gotta make yourself a snack.
I need to make dinner and that's what he's waiting for. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you to those of you who were able to stay through. Thank you to anybody that's watching this that was not able to stay for the whole meeting or attend. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for working with us to break the stigma. And we will see you at our next meeting. Hopefully we'll see you on Thursday, okay?
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.